中でもね、格闘ゲームを当時遊んでくれてたユーザーの皆さんの温かいコメントが本当に嬉しかったですね。さて、ロールバック機能なんですけれども、
Yo! He said the thing!
今年の夏頃にね、皆さんに配信予定になっておりますので、こちらもどうぞご期待いただければと思います。
After months of complaining and complaining and complaining and doing combos on Twitter, we have moved the needle and we have brung rollback to Persona 4 Arena. Well, we didn't, but the developers did, you know what I mean? And I mean quite literally that we were the ones that changed their minds about this because they said it themselves. And I truly genuinely believe in my mind that we have saved Persona 4 Arena Ultimax from doom, bro. Because if that game came out with delay-based netcode and it would stay delay-based netcode forever, that game wouldn't have lasted very long, to say the very least. But today I didn't only want to talk about rollback in Persona 4 Arena Ultimax, which is amazing news. By the way, if you've been living under a rock, it's not going to be on launch. It's going to be during the summertime. So like about a month or two after release, they're going to add rollback, which is still amazing, but it's a shame that's not going to be on release, but at least it's coming very soon. But a thing that I did want to talk about today, other than the rollback announcement, is that we do have a voice. We as a community in DFGC, a lot of people believe that all of our complaints and all of our criticisms and all these things are falling on deaf ears, and today it's been proven that no, they do listen to us and they do care. It's more about if they feel like it's worth it, and if we're vocal enough about it, if it's something that's actually important. Let's be honest, rollback netcode is a must nowadays, especially in the era we're living in. The pandemic is starting to die down a little bit and we're starting to have more locals, but it's still around and most people are going to want to stay inside, and we need rollback netcode in order to practice or to just compete in tournaments. Delay-based netcode is just not it. But this has proven that if we're loud enough, if we tell them enough, if we actually come together for a certain goal, we can actually get them to listen to us and make some very needed changes. I remember when Guilty Gear Strive was coming out, they said it was gonna have delay-based netcode, and everybody came together and said, no, we need freaking rollback. We need it. It's a must. It's a brand new fighting game. It's unacceptable to have delay-based netcode. And guess what they did? We were so loud they delayed the entire game for months and got the rollback netcode, and it paid off big time for them. Guilty Gear Strive was a massive success for Arc System Works as a first-party IP for them. They might have sold about 1 million copies by now. 1 million copies might not sound a lot for a lot of people, but dude, 1 million copies for Arc System Works IP is massive. And Strive by itself has showed other game developers that having rollback in your game can make or break your game. Like, it will either make it successful or a failure. As we've seen, Arc System Works has been putting rollback into BlazBlue Central Fiction and BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle. BlazBlue Cross Tag Battle recently got its rollback implementation, and it was good when it worked, but there was some matchmaking issues that may have been resolved by now, I'm not sure. But the BlazBlue Central Fiction one is amazing. It was pretty seamless other than a couple bugs. DNF Duel is gonna have rollback netcode, so pretty much everybody's getting rollback netcode. So we were vocal enough in our movement for rollback that pretty much every single game developer knows nowadays that you need rollback netcode to have a successful game. I want to bring an interesting question, because if you haven't noticed, there's been a trend with these rollback implementations, at least past fighting games. The past fighting games that are getting rollback implementations are 2D sprite-based fighting games, whether it be the BlazBlue games or the older KOF games, like very obscure old SNK games. Those are the ones getting rollback. You haven't seen a game like Dragon Ball FighterZ or Granblue Fantasy Versus getting rollback, Guilty Gear Xrd, these 2.5D fighting games getting rollback. We've seen examples of like Mortal Kombat X that started off as delay-based netcode, but they went on a massive project and it took a lot of resources and a lot of time and a lot of money just to implement rollback into that game. So I want to bring an interesting question. Is it possible for us to get Granblue Fantasy Versus and Dragon Ball FighterZ to get rollback if we're loud enough about it, or is it just too big of an undertaking? Because those games are 2.5D fighting games. They have models instead of sprites, so it may be harder. I'm not really sure on the technical aspect of how rollback is implemented, but I did notice that trend. So if I put 2 and 2 together, it tells me that sprite-based fighting games are very easy. Well, not very easy, but they're easier to implement rollback netcode into. It feels like 3D or 2.5D fighting games need the whole game to be developed with the knowledge that it's going to have rollback. in order for it to have rollback. So I want to know, is it possible for Dragon Ball FighterZ and Grand Blue Fantasy versus Guilty Gear Xrd to get rollback netcode? Because if those games go rollback netcode, that's going to be pretty massive, especially like Dragon Ball FighterZ and Grand Blue Fantasy versus. I don't honestly see Guilty Gear Xrd getting rollback because that may take away from Guilty Gear Strive. Even though they're completely different games, I feel like Arc System is kind of like hesitating on that, like, oh, if we put rollback into Xrd, people might not play Strive, etc, and they might not buy the DLC or whatever. Even though they're completely different games, I feel like that's the way they're thinking. Now, Grand Blue Fantasy versus and Dragon Ball FighterZ are completely different cases. If Dragon Ball FighterZ gets rollback netcode, that game is gonna get injected with some serious steroids. Like, that game is already popular enough, and if it gets rollback netcode and good rollback netcode, bro, it's gonna be like off the charts. And you know what other game could get rollback implementation? Smash Brothers. Oh my god, if Smash Brothers actually gets rollback, that game is gonna print money more than it already does. But yeah, it's Nintendo, so I doubt it's gonna happen. Didn't really listen to people. But hey, we're doing hypotheticals here. On the other hand, Grand Blue Fantasy versus, if that game gets rollback, we're bringing the defibrillators back, bro. That game is dying, or it may be dead, sadly. But if it gets rollback, I feel like a lot of people might come back to it, especially like Street Fighter players and players that really enjoy neutral-based games. Grand Blue was supposed to be huge, man. It was supposed to be a big game, but unfortunately, with the bad netcode and the really bad timing, it got the short end of the stick. So if they were to implement rollback, that would be a blessing. They have mentioned rollback before, but they said that they're not really looking into it. But that has been said before, and they said it and they changed their minds before, so maybe they'll do it again after they see all the success that other games are getting. But what I really wanted to get across today is that, listen, doesn't matter how big of a feat it looks like, no matter if you feel like you guys are screaming into the void, make your opinions, get your opinions out there, make sure they're loud, they're clear, they're concise, they're not trashy like opinions or very rude. Make it constructive criticism, make it like something constructive that they could actually use. And look, we have talked about rollback netcode for years, and now we're getting every single game is getting rollback netcode because they've seen an example of success and now they're doing it. So now we move on to the next step, crossplay. Now I'm playing crossplay is probably not going to come anytime soon due to Sony, but hey, maybe we can try. But other than that, guys, that's all I really want to talk about today. If you guys are interested in the rollback for Persona 4 Arena Ultimax, I'll probably leave the announcement in the link in the description. The game is supposed to come out on March 17th, so I'll be looking forward to it. It's supposed to have like a brand new patch. Well, not a brand new patch, but a patch that never came out in the States. It was only a Japan patch in the arcades. So that should be fun, even though I've heard it's broken beyond belief. But we'll see what happens. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, fellas, and I'll see you guys in the next video, alright? Peace.